Somehow, after all these years, I never watched The Exorcist. Until now. Honestly, this is just one of those movies that just kept skating past me. Like, I've always had a hard time finding this as a physical copy. It was just one of them that for whatever reason I never made much of a priority to watch it. I had seen some chunks of the film either through catching parts on TV or just through the osmosis of the pop culture zeitgeist, but to sit down to watch it from front to finish, I'd never done. I came across the DVD of it at a yard sale for $1 and I thought, you know what, I might as well finally watch it, and what a good way to end the year. It's worth noting that the copy that I watched is the You've Never Seen This copy or whatever it's called. I think it's supposed to be like a director's cut or something. Normally I prefer to watch the theatrical cut before anything else, but sometimes you gotta take what you get. Honestly, from what I've read, it's only like one extra scene, but I didn't really dive too deep into what the differences are, so I could be totally wrong about that. The main scene I think is the differences where Reagan runs down the stairs, which I personally liked. The film is about a daughter of a famous actress getting possessed and trying to figure out what's wrong with her, along with a boxing priest who tries to help the girl. The film is directed by William Friedkin, and outside of Killer Joe, I hadn't really dived into much of his films, but maybe I should because I've really enjoyed both films of his I've seen. The French Connection is literally sitting right behind me and I've never watched it. Please, sir, may you pick me next? I'm not one who really cares much for possession or paranormal movies. It's just not something that really gets to me, and it's a subgenre that follows a lot of the same plot beats and tropes that I just find to be really boring for the most part. Not to mention, but it's a subgenre that leads heavily into the jump scares, which is just an annoying trope. Boo. Did I scare you? However, the originator kid, look what you done did, because even though this film is from 1973 and was kind of the godfather for the genre, it's still sitting at the top. This does everything its predecessors have copied, mimicked, and even studied, and still does it better. The film plays with the idea if Reagan is just mentally ill or possessed. Even the church in the film admits that past exorcisms was just on mentally ill people. You see not only Reagan's state decline, but also that of her mother Chris, played amazingly by the wonderful Ellen Burstyn. Even when the film goes full bore, it still has this oddly grounded sense of realism that holds you tight to the screen. Much like the original Omen, I found most of the interesting parts was figuring out what was really happening, like was this happening or not. But unlike the Omen that drifts into a pseudo investigation movie, this film leads into the demonic possession in a way that doesn't come off corny or played to be fun, but played to be actually terrifying, and guess what? It works. You actually care about the characters here and don't want to see them hurt in the process, unlike a ton of other films that don't do that. The film looks visually great, but what really sells the movie is the performances. Everyone in the film is just outstanding, especially Linda Blair's physical performance. Now, that being said, there was a section at the beginning of the film that I feel is kind of misplaced in a way. The film opens at a dig site where a priest finds a statue, and I guess it's to affirm later what the demon is, but I honestly just felt like it's out of place. Outside of that though, I really enjoyed this one. I'm glad I can finally cross this one off my watch list. This is a film that would easily go into my Halloween rotation. I'm giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. Really good. Alright, so 31 for 31 is finally done. It was actually 46 for 31. Yeah, every trilogy I got picked could have got picked. I think I'm going to start this earlier next year so I don't have to cram as much. I hope you enjoyed this year's 31 for 31. I had a great time. Kind of a wide variety of movies. Some that I really love, some that I really didn't. I finally got to cross off several things off my watch list that's been on there permeating for a while. So that's pretty cool. But now we're in that part where I do my top 5. Now I do want to say this year's top 5 is a little bit different because there are movies that are not in my top 5 that rated higher than some of my movies in my top 5. With that being said, this top 5 is my top 5 films that either I can't stop thinking about or films that I really, really liked but had some issues with and rated them maybe a little bit lower than others. I will say you will not see The Exorcist, any of the Good and the Bad and the Ugly trilogy, the Dollars trilogy, or Raising Arizona here, even though I gave them high ratings, along with something like Nomadland. Really enjoyed those films, highly recommend them. I will definitely be watching them again. But again, these top 5 are 5 movies that I haven't stopped thinking about. My number 5 is The Congress, or Robin Wright at the Congress. This is my number 5. I literally have not stopped thinking about this movie. That scene with Harvey Keitel gets to me every time I watch it. I feel like this is more relevant now than it probably was at release with all the AI stuff going on. The animation is really, really interesting, and it's one of those ones where I feel like on a second watch this is going to go up in rating wise for me, and I've been recommending it to people left and right, so My number 5 is going to go to The Congress from Robin Wright. My number 4 is probably, I don't think it's the best movie I watched of 31 for 31, but it's probably one of my favorites, which is why it's in my number 4, is because I do think these other films are technically better, but I really love this movie, and that is Map of the Sounds of Tokyo. This was a complete blind buy from McKay's when we was on vacation, and I'm so glad I picked it up because I really, really love this one. I can't wait to watch this one again, honestly. I really enjoyed it. I kind of wish there was more like special features. I would love like a director's commentary or something like that. I don't believe this is on Blu-ray. I've looked. It doesn't seem like this has a Blu-ray release, which really sucks because I do feel like the compression of the DVD is kind of what makes the film look a little bit worse than what it actually is supposed to look like. Again, this is one of those movies that I just kept thinking about. Out of all the movies I watched, this is the closest to a movie that I personally would want to make. Really, really loved it. And again, another one that I've been recommending to people. My number 3 is It's Angst. This movie has drilled a hole into my head. Really great stuff. Visually, I think it's amazing. Really like what they did with the visuals here. Really glad I can finally cross this one on my list, but also pretty disturbing. And again, one of them that's just left an impression with me. Another movie that I would, obviously all these I would super recommend, but another movie that I've recommended to some people. Just really great stuff. And it's another one that I don't know if it would actually go up on another rating, another watching, I mean, but I would 1000% watch this again. I would like to rewatch this actually sometime soon. And yeah, just really, really liked it. Ton of special features on this thing, including you can have a introduction with Gaspard Noé, which is what I did when I watched this the first time. A featurette with Ewan Leder, who is the lead actor. Interview with the director. Interview with the cinematographer, audio commentary with the director, 40-page booklet including a bunch of interviews. So a lot of cool special features. I mean, it could be cooler, but definitely want to check some of those out. So Angst is my number 3. I do feel like my 2 and 1 are pretty obvious if you watched every episode in the series. My number 2 being Donnie Brasco. Not only did I give these last 2 movies a 9 out of 10, the highest ratings of the full year, but I also adore these movies. Donnie Brasco, 1000% will be watching this again. I love mafioso crime thrillers, and I do think Johnny Depp and Al Pacino give stunning performances here that should be up in the conversation of their greatest performances of their career. Al Pacino especially, not saying Johnny Depp is a slouch either, but Al Pacino is so good in this. Really loved it. Really, really good. I do want to try to pick up the theatrical cut instead of just the extended cut and see if I like it even more. So I am going to be on the lookout for the theatrical cut of Donnie Brasco, but for right now, my number 2 and my number 1 is... I know I've said this with most of these, and every one of these I haven't stopped thinking about since I've watched them. I mean, that's true. I keep thinking about these movies. This is a movie that made such an impression to me. I don't think there's been a movie I have within like the first act of the movie started texting people, hey, you should watch this, like I did with this one. And that is Sword of the Stranger is my number 1 for this year. I think this movie is fantastic. The animation is absolutely beautiful. It's very similar to something like the Dollars trilogy, if you want to do like a Man with No Name kind of thing. Not a lot of special features, production report, cast interview, pilot film, whatever that means, battle animatic, theatrical trailers, TV commercials, and trailers. So I would be willing to check out whatever this pilot film is. But yeah, beautiful animation, really, really stunning action set pieces, really cool story, really interesting twist toward the end. And I just keep thinking about this movie as well. Awesome, super fun, super engaging, very, very well put together movie that I really, really loved. And that is my top 5 for this year's 31 for 31. Like I said, The Exorcist, Raising Arizona, the whole Man with No Name trilogy, Dollars trilogy, whatever you want to call it, could also have been in my top 5. And actually, they originally were my top 5. So when I was writing the reviews out and I got to the end and I had watched all the movies, I originally wrote out a top 5 and had kind of filmed it differently. But I decided that, you know what, I don't know if that top 5 is really reflective of what my real top 5 is. They're just my top 5 like highest ratings, right? So I really started to think about it, and to me, these 5 films have left such an impact on me on not only inspirational in terms of like filmmaking, but also just being a little bookworm in my head. You know what I mean? So really, really love this stuff. There is on the special features, I didn't say anything about this, but there is a commentary track featuring the director and an interview with Robin Wright. It's pretty much it. So definitely want to check out the director's commentary on that. But that's my my top 5. This has been this year's 31 for 31. It has been a beefy, long trudge, but we are here at the end. If you want to support me, you can consider becoming a member here on YouTube or a Patreon. There's a link in the description down below. There's also a join button down below. They get your name at the beginning and at the end of the screen on a credit scroll. I'm not good at these call of action things. You can subscribe, like, share. All that stuff goes a long way. All my links are down below, and I will see you in the next one. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.